In this video, I'm going to show you how you can apply an effect to a single audio clip. So here's a clip I have of an ice bell, a percussion instrument. So I'll just play that so you get a sense of what it sounds like unaffected. Okay, so what I want to do is there's a number of different effects that I can apply to this. There's some pretty basic ones, like if I just, so my first step is actually just to select the clip that I want to affect, go under Audio Suite menu here, and I've already talked about in the beginner tutorial about changing the pitch or time shifting or, reversing the sound, right, which is such a great thing. So I can just do that backwards. Such a great thing, right? So let me undo that. But there's some other effects in here that I can also apply. Things like reverb or delays or adding some EQ to it, some dynamic effects and things like that. So let me just pick a couple of these. Let's start with the delay line. So this in this window we can see that we have a few things. We have an input signal, we have our output signal, we have something called modulation, and then all this section here in the middle has to do with the actual delay. So and there's a few things we can do. We can sync things to a groove. We can sync the delay to whatever our BPM is here, or we can also just add a delay by adjusting these knobs right here. We also have something called feedback, and there's also a low pass filter we can add to this sound. So right now this is kind of a default setting. Looks like 250 millisecond delay. So what we'll hear actually, and actually what's really important is there's something down here called wet and dry mix. And so I'm going to preview this sound. And you'll actually notice that because it's set to 100% wet, you'll see that the original sound will play here. We won't hear it, and then we're only hearing the delay, right? So if I want to hear the original sound mixed into this, I can just, so if I get close to about 50%, I'm hearing the initial attack and then the delay. And in this case, there's just a single delay. We hear the sound, it's held for 250 milliseconds until it's released, and then it's released into the, so we can hear it. I can make the delay faster. I can slow it down. So about a half second or so later. Some other cool effects I can do. Let me get this back down a little bit here. So feedback, what feedback does is actually feeds the delay back into itself a little bit. So, so if I do it by 50%, what'll happen is we'll hear the sound, we'll hear the delay, and then we'll hear a series of delays, each of which will be cut by 51%. So here's what that will sound like. So you can kind of hear that slowly. Each delay is a little bit less every time. If you set this to be 100%, what will happen is the delay will constantly go on. So it'll just go on forever. You want to be really careful with something like this. And obviously we would never want to have a delayed feedback that would be greater than 100%, because that would actually increase the volume. So I'm going to set this to be about 83%, and let's hear what that sounds like. All right, so that's pretty cool. Now you'll actually notice that as it's playing the sound, it actually loops back on itself before it's actually finished. So listen to that. So let me render this now and see what happened. And sure enough, there's our sound. But you can kind of see we're getting a little bit of a clip here at the end. Like we actually want to have more sound going. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command Z and undo that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this clip. I'm just clicking on it. And then I have my selection tool, right? And I'm going to just go over here somewhere and I'm going to shift click. And now I'm extending my selection. And so now if I go to Audio Suite and I go to Delay and I do something similar, so I'm back to my default settings here. So I'm going to decrease the delay time a little bit. Oh, that's not, let's do about there, 70 or so. We'll do about 80% feedback and about a 66% wet dry mix. So it sounds like it's getting all of the effect in this time before it's looping. So I think I'm set with the duration of it, so now I can render it. And there you can see that my effect ends in plenty of time, so we have a zero crossing at the end. And so now this will sound like this. So that's kind of a handy trick to keep in mind when you are applying any effect. Anything that adds sort of things like a, particularly like a delay line or reverb, you want to add extra time to the clip. So you're going to make a larger selection. So you'll also notice that I've got another track here with the original sound. And so let me solo that. So you'll actually notice that if I kind of put these side by side, the one down below here actually has quite a bit more volume to it, right? Because what we're actually doing in the delay is because we've got a kind of a 50% wet dry mix, we've cut the signal by 50% too. So sometimes it just sort of depends on the plugin, but there's I mean, I can add some gain here. It doesn't look like I can add any gain over here. So that would have been nice to actually be able to do. So one way around this is to actually duplicate the same sound on another track. So if I solo just this the first track with just the affected sound, we get, and let me do a loop playback here. And we'll hear that again. And now I'm going to add the sound down here. So that's quite a difference, right? Between, let me just do a small portion of this. Here it is without the original sound. And then with. So sometimes actually having a duplicate track that's unaffected and another track that has the effect can be a way to give presence to the sound, but also give us, you know, this amazing effect after as well. So it just kind of depends on what you're after. If you want everything to sound sort of more in the distance, then we opt for just having the affected sound like this. So that's a real basic tutorial on how to apply effects to a audio clip. So I hope you found this helpful and have fun applying effects to your audio clips.